From Flourish DX, this is the Psych Health and Safety Canada podcast, with workplace mental health becoming a priority for businesses who want to retain staff and prevent burnout. This is the source of information for creating sustainable and psychologically healthy workplaces in Canada.
Well, welcome back to Psych Health and Safety in Canada. My guest today is Lauren Hundert. And Lauren has a very unique business that is related to workplace mental health. She calls herself a wellness broker. And as somebody who used to be a broker in the financial industry, I realized that what that means is to find the right fit and provide it. So I'm really interested to learn more. But Lauren, let's start with you telling us sort of what your journey has been in this field so far and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. When I started, I was involved in nonprofit forever and ever, since I was 15 years old, although I can't really say that, but I was 15 when I first started working. But as things went on, and I think I was drawn to that kind of work environment because it was more open, because we were service organizations, we were helping people directly. And I felt that that was really important for me in a workplace, that I needed to be, and I hadn't realized at the time, of course, that this would become a whole thing, that there would be a whole industry that would be around this. But I needed to feel like I could be an individual and still be part of a team. So as I started to find jobs, I found that there were things that either aligned with that or did not align with that. And as I went through, I started to gravitate more and more towards the places that, again, I felt like I could be an individual and still be part of the team. So I worked for a number of great organizations throughout Ontario as well as in Alberta. And after I had had my second child, we were living in St. Catharines, which is where we are now. I had worked for a few different organizations and then I went through a personal, there was a death in our family that was very, very sudden. And that really helped put things in perspective, right? That life is short and what am I going to do? And who am I to be? I decided at that point, I took up yoga. Started going very, very frequently. All of a sudden decided in a couple of months that I wanted to be a yoga instructor. And that's what really kind of opened things up. When I did my yoga certification, I kept saying, I don't really know what's out there for me, but I know that this is the next right thing. So that's all I can do is just follow the next right thing. So I ended up doing that. And then I quit my job with an organization that I really, really enjoyed. And I'm still on the board of directors there. So there's no hard feelings at all, but it just wasn't aligned anymore. So then I started this idea of having a workplace wellness company. And initially it was really quite small. I had 4 people that I was brokering 4 people at the time. And I went in to do some corporate yoga with one particular partner that I had. And they had said, we love doing this yoga stuff. But is there an opportunity? You probably know a whole bunch of people in health and wellness. We don't know anyone. We have a committee, but we don't know what to do with it. And nobody has the time. So can I hire you to find other people to come in? And I thought, well, that's a pretty cool idea. So then I started to find more people. And that's how the wellness broker journey began. Initially, it started with a couple of different clients, and we were doing it exclusively in person. And then COVID, et cetera. And that's actually when I met my business partner, Megan, and things really took off from there. And we imagined a much larger space. And now we're an online platform. And we have upwards of 20 individuals that we're brokering on behalf of. So in a nutshell, that's the journey.
Lauren, that's been my experience in life and the experience of so many people, that it's a long and winding road, but that it is the disappointments, the losses, the frustrations, the challenges that make us open up to new possibilities in ways that success doesn't. And you talked about, and this was something that fascinated me when I was looking on your website, is that the modalities of wellness that you bring, we always say it's jumping jacks and providing apples, right? That's the sort of standard corporate wellness, but you go beyond that. So yoga's one. What else are the services that you broker for
Yes.
corporations?
So we have a lot of different, as you said, a number of different modalities and a number of different mediums. So we have online courses. Anybody who's a part of the Balanced Wellness Center, which is the company that I've created, they have their particular area of genius, and they create a course around that we then offer for individuals, and we offer to businesses as well. Then we also have the opportunity to connect with those people directly, either for a consultation, a one-on-one consultation, or to bring people into the workplace to run an entire session. So we have programs for hypnosis for smoking cessation. We have healthy sleep, both for adults and for children. We have mindfulness, self-care. We have massage therapy from home. So if you happen to be on vacation or you can't seem to get into an appointment, what is actually happening in your body? And Scott Fisher, our massage therapist, is just phenomenal. And he goes through the muscle parts of the body, what is being affected, why it's being affected, and then things in your home that you can use to help alleviate that discomfort or pain. We have women's health, hormones, and metabolism. We have mindful movement. It's really about focusing on things that are tangible for people. Like, what is something, this is always what we ask ourselves when we bring someone onto the platform, is this something that people really do struggle with every day? If the answer is yes, great. Is there a solution? Is there something that we can actually do about it? Yes, great. Let's lay it all out and bring it to people.
Yeah, and it's must have been such a journey for you, because becoming certified to teach yoga teaches you a lot about the body and the mind, and then adding in these other modalities, you're really giving people a toolkit, right?
Exactly.
And to choose from. What have been some of your biggest challenges in building this business up?
Ooh.
Besides that little thing called the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. I would say, first of all, sort of getting the word out there, because when we first created this, we created the idea of a platform without actually having the platform, right? We were selling an idea and hoping, and I mean, there was a little bit of hope, but there was also very much strategy and a plan. But having people share in that vision of what could be when it didn't actually exist yet, that was certainly a challenge. And I am so grateful to everybody who supported us and helped us to get the word out, and all the contributors that have joined our platform, both then and since, because that was a big deal.
And how did you face that challenge? How did you address it?
So we really worked with people to figure out what it is that was holding them back. So people wanting to create courses, but not having the funds, not having the know-how. If they knew how to do it themselves, they would have done it already. So we needed to really provide a solution. And that's where my business partner, Megan, has been absolutely incredible. She has a beautiful mind and a beautiful gift for being able to figure out how to structure courses, how to logically go through them to someone who may have no idea. We have, for example, a program on plant-based eating. There are a number of people who have absolutely no idea. And the first thing that comes up are objections, right? The first thing that comes up are myths or objections to a particular topic. So we really took the side of the contributor to say, so what are the issues that people experience with this? What are the pushbacks? What are the things that people celebrate? How do we include that in a course that it's going to be palatable for everybody, and that's actually going to be useful for everyone, and sort of bring down those walls? And when we created a system to be able to put that into place, and we have a very kind of strict rubric that we follow when we're creating our courses. And I think that was really helpful, because it allowed people to see what it actually could be. Even if we didn't have the physical thing, we had a very detailed plan about what that course would look like to be able to put it into a vision. And people thought, okay, now I get it, and I'm excited about it.
So you're talking about something that so many businesses are dealing with, is you've got a great idea, but then to have the technology and the structure to facilitate that idea.
Mm-hmm.
on scale is
Yes.
the difficulty. And you partnered with somebody that had
Mhm.
that ability in order to do it. It's just like, I think at one time, business was about getting people to do the work, and there wasn't as much attention paid to the psychological health and safety of workers. It was really just get the work done. And as we have demanded more and more of the ability for people to think critically, the ability for people to interact well, psych health and safety has become more of a focus. Do you remember, Lauren, when you first heard that term, psych
I
health
do.
and safety?
I
Yeah.
do.
Tell
I
me
was,
about it.
it was the first client I ever had. And he and I actually were we were good friends at the time. It was we knew each other through work. And then he found out that I was a yoga instructor. And that's when he had said, we've got this whole committee. Nobody knows what to do with it. So maybe you can help. And so we started talking a lot more frequently. And he was the first person that brought up to me this concept of psychological health and safety in the workplace. And he had said, it's huge, Lauren. It's something that people, like, we have to do it. We have to do it. And not a lot of people know how to do it. But he said, this is like a perfect inroad for you in what you're doing and the services that you're providing, because I can see how people might be resistant to the idea or resistant to the budget that goes along with the idea. But when they know it's something they actually really need to do and that it really genuinely helps benefit the worker themselves, it's a game changer, you know? So that was the first time I remember hearing about it and thinking, he said, go home and Google it. And I immediately went home and Googled it and thought, yeah, this is exactly what we need, what everybody needs.
Yeah. And when you're trying to sell this to a new client, to an employer, how do you tie in what you're doing to the concept of psychological health and safety?
Well, it really, so for me, when I think about psychological health and safety, I think about creating a workplace that is open, let's say. So one where people feel that they can be who they are, that they can say what they need to say, that certainly it's not to say that there won't be any conflict or anything that comes from that, but that it's okay when there is, and there is a plan and there's a solution. And so that's really what we offer through a number of our programs. We have a whole communication department, for example, where we have courses on anger solutions. We have courses on conflict. We have courses on inclusivity, diversity, and inclusion. We have, oh boy, I know there's someone else, and now I'm forgetting who they are in there. But we have a number of programs that specifically speak to creating a space. Because I'd said before that I always felt more comfortable when I knew I could be an individual and also still be a part of the team. And that's what we're focused on, right? Is that making sure that people feel that they are safe and they are secure. And then by extension, the company is also supported in that. So another example of that would be that we also have a movement department. So we have ergonomics, we have a chiropractor that we work with, and then they can also help ensure the physical safety as well as the mental and emotional safety of people.
Mm-hmm. And how does that benefit the employer who's footing the bill?
Yes, very good question. So really, and this is something that I kind of struggled with in the beginning, because I didn't want to use the reason of productivity, but it does directly help with productivity, right? I didn't want to say, you should do this and you should invest in these people because it's going to make you more money. It's going to save you more money. I really wanted it to be about the people. And for some organizations that works, for others, it doesn't, but it does directly contribute, excuse me, it does directly contribute to your bottom line. When your people are healthier, they take less sick days, they feel better, they want to come to work. No one's quiet quitting. You're not immune to the great resignation, but certainly it helps when people feel that they're a part of a community, right? And that they are genuinely cared for. And so that's what we pitch as well.
Yeah. It to me, Lauren, it's if the employer is doing it because they care about the well-being of the people that they employ, that in and of itself is going to have a very positive effect on productivity. If they're only doing it to make money, it's still not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is you can't be as effective in a culture where the individuals really aren't cared about as much as the bottom line.
Right.
So
And you know
that
that. You
yeah,
feel that as the employer, you as the employee rather, when you are genuinely cared for,
yeah.
right? And when you're a check mark. And sometimes the check mark is a necessity to then get to the point of really realizing the impact of what's happening.
And isn't that an interesting uh, evolution? Is I've seen people, it really only the bottom line matters. And
Mhm.
then they see what happens. And then they start to go, oh, so this is good for business if I act like I care. And then they actually care.
Exactly.
And that they
Exactly.
actually
Yeah.
start to because they let down their guard
Yes.
about, I need to keep you at arm's length, and they start to see humans, and then they do actually start to care. So that tell me about some of your greatest successes in the journey that you've had so far.
One of the biggest ones was right when I first, how would I put this? There's that old adage that there's no such thing as coincidence. So I decided, I had a number of conversations with my husband when I was first sort of getting this idea off the ground. I'm in his office, by the way, which is why there's digesters and all sorts of things behind me, for those of you that are visually seeing. But I initially started, I had a couple of clients, things were tracking, it was looking good. And then COVID happened. We all know what that was about. My kids were really, really young at the time. So I had to kind of close up shop for about a year. They were in grade 1 and 3, and there was no way they could do what was expected of them without my help. After that first year, we had a conversation. It was basically, it's time to go or stop. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna go. I don't really know how this is gonna go, but I have to try. I'll be so mad at myself if I don't try. And within 3 weeks of saying I have to try, I found Megan, my business partner, completely out of the blue, I would say, though I know now that there's some sort of, there were some sort of factors at play. And I found that those kinds of things kept happening. So some of the wins, for sure, the first one was finding Megan and having her come on board and seeing the vision and helping to plan what that vision was. Another one was that shortly after the two of us had come together and decided this is what we were going to do, within 2 months, we had our first major client. And when I say major client, it was like a major financial institution that said, I assumed, because I had done work with them before in one particular branch, and they had said, we've heard about what you were doing and we'd like to continue this. And I thought, great, I'll be working with that branch again. So I had a conversation with them and they said, oh, no, we mean we want anyone who banks with us at all to have access to your programs. And I thought, cool. How are we going to do this? But we'll do it. So that was a major win. It was a major win to see not only that what it is that that there was a response to the idea. It's one thing to incubate something in your mind and then take the steps to bring it out. But then for other people to validate it, essentially, to say there is a need for this and we want it to be you, is huge. And I would say just about another win would be that, and it's a little less quantitative, but every day something new and exciting happens. Every day there's a new connection, a new lead, somebody else that's excited about something, an opportunity to collaborate with somebody. Every day something like this happens. And I take that as a win because it really helps to keep, especially when you're starting out a new business, it can be very reactive. There's not a lot of time to plan and you can kind of get lost in the minutia at times. But that really helps to keep me inspired and motivated as other people seeing a place for the vision and seeing themselves as a part of that placement in it.
Yeah, people will talk about the woo-woo stuff or the secret or whatever, but it's really just keeping your mind open to the possibilities that present themselves. And I think sometimes we go through life very close that, it is what it is, and we're not going to have any other opportunities, and life is just difficult. And then when you put your mind at that open stance, what's possible, who might I meet, what great thing will happen today, it
Exactly.
really changes everything. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So where do you want to go next?
Ooh, where don't we want to go next, Marianne? We're actually launching a pilot project shortly, and that's really important to us because it's similar in our sort of preamble to this conversation. You were saying that you have an associate that goes through and finds things that are, because you get so connected to the content, you need other people to be able to see, to recognize important things. Um, and that's sort of where we're at a point like that as well, where now Megan and I both have gone through every course so many times. We are no longer objective. Um, I will objectively say they're all fantastic. But we're really excited to have a few people test out a number of these programs that we're offering so that we can ensure that they are as clear, the programs themselves are as clear as possible. The user experience is as seamless as possible. So that's a direction that we're going as well. And it's an important direction because not only does it open up opportunities for us to partner with organizations that may not otherwise have joined, it's also a really great opportunity for us to solicit information from people in a very organic way. And that is really, really crucial if we want to keep going and be as, what's the word I'm looking for? Authentic as possible. We really, really need to know what people are thinking and what people are feeling about what it is that we're offering, so that we can address real life. This is what we're here for: tangible solutions to health and wellness and work-life balance. So I am really excited about creating that, having that feedback so that we can implement that into our programs.
Lauren, and you probably already do know this, but many of the colleges and universities that focus on wellness and especially workplace wellness, they have opportunities to take on students who will actually critique. And there's also researchers at the university level who are looking for information, looking for opportunities to do research on these types of things. And you can see if you can partner with one of them. We've had
that's a new exciting thing.
There you go. In some of the work that we were doing, we partnered with different universities, and the insights that they give us and the help that they provide so that our tools and resources are credible and evidence-based. We've always been evidence-informed, but then to be able to take what you've created from that evidence and check it out to see if it really is doing what you hope it's doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we're really excited for the partners that we will be partnering with and the people who we already have partnered with, and to really have that kind of open relationship with them so that they know that they can send us whatever feedback they have genuinely, and we will genuinely take it into consideration and implement it into the platform and to our other resources as well, our one-on-ones and our seminars.
Well, and that's the thing. I think in some organizations, they don't want the feedback because they don't have the motivation to make change. Or they're afraid,
or the capacity.
or they're afraid that it will reflect poorly on them if the research says, no, there's room for improvement. Whereas I feel the opposite is that I bring it on. Any critique you have, it's like, that's the whole point. Bring it forward. So in terms of the work that you've done so far, do you find that there's a big difference in the type of sector you're working with? Have you worked with more than the financial sector you mentioned?
Yes. Yeah. So, and that was also really important for us too, that when we were looking into potential partnerships, that we were looking at various different industries so that we could see what are some of the trends, who is most useful in terms of the services that we offer. So for example, we typically, I would say people are drawn to introduction to mindfulness or something like self-care because it's very palatable and it opens the way, it opens things up to explore more niche ideas But then there are some places where it just doesn't make sense for that to be the first thing. So we've worked with an organization where they have a lot of truck drivers. And they were saying, like, for them, they are really interested in ergonomics, and they're interested in our movement specialists, and they're interested in massage therapy. Of course they are, right? That's the best way that they can serve their people. Whereas I've been talking with a construction company, and they immediately went to smoking cessation. They said, a number of our staff, we really, really want to help them kick this habit, and really want to support them on that journey. Whereas I've had others that we work with, people who do shift work, and they were saying sleep, right? So it's very different across. And I give our team, a lot of credit in being able to say it truly is about experiencing that organization's pain points. We will not push a particular agenda. We really want to know what it is that your employees suffer from, and what they're doing really well, and then how we can support those efforts.
Mm-hmm. Just you've made me think about something in terms of your intake. Do you have a formal questionnaire or something that helps employers decide? Because sometimes what they think their employees' pain points are not actually what their employees' pain points are.
Exactly. We do. And there's a couple of different ways that we go about it depending on the organization. Typically, it starts with a conversation with me. I really think it's important to have that personal touch point, and especially for something like a wellness program. You mentioned the woo-woo. Some people think it's a very woo-woo thing, and I get it. But I really want people to see that there is a person behind it, and there is a team behind that person, so that if there is ever some kind of issue, or you have a question, or you're unsure about something, you know that there's an actual place that you can come to. So we will ask, there's the general questions like, how many employees do you have? All those kinds of things. What is the culture like, for example? And then it sort of goes down to, how physical are people's jobs, right? Depending on who we're talking with, it become much more streamlined, the conversation. And then we're also working on we're completely redoing our website. And then there will also be an intake form there, but it would also lead to a one-on-one conversation.
Yeah, that's great to really understand them and their needs. And how do employees actually access? Is it usually just a group team thing that's done for them, or do they get to reach out and say, this is what I particularly need?
They do. So the way that we work it is that we have a rollout meeting. So it's virtual. It doesn't take a very long time, but I do a short presentation on what the platform looks like, how you navigate it. I also send supplemental videos, instructions on literally how to go through the website so that nobody is lost and they have something that they can refer back to. And then from there, everyone has their own login for their company. So they can log in, and then the company does not have access to whatever programs people are interested in taking. It's really just, you end up on the platform. Here are the list of courses, and you start selecting whatever ones that you're drawn to. Excuse me. We also have created an email address for every company. So if employees have a question about something, or if they need additional support on something, then they have an email that they can send to us, so that we can then put them in touch with the contributor that they're looking for, the expert that they're looking for. And if there are generic questions, we also do a newsletter. So the newsletter will be on one particular topic, and then there will be questions from previous sessions. So it likely would have nothing to do with what was actually in that newsletter, but perhaps from newsletters before, or courses they've taken before. And then I go back to each contributor, I check in with them regularly, and I'll say, okay, there's XYZ question for you. And then they send the response back. So I'm never answering on anybody's behalf. I always defer to the experts and then include that as well.
Yes, because I would think that there's sort of two areas where you would need to be careful not to step on toes. One would be their employee assistance plan, sort of that clinical, medical, and then there's the HR domain, right? And so how do you walk that tightrope?
Typically, most of the people that we interact with companies are the HR representatives. So I end up having conversations with them about various parameters and what things we can do and cannot do. And then I liaise with them.
Mm-hmm. And from what you described to me, Lauren, I don't think you do counseling or therapy per se.
Right.
What happens in an organization where they don't have an EAP, but you know that the employee needs something more than, massage? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we have a therapist on our platform. So certainly people are able to get in contact with them. And in fact, usually I'll also would say in my introduction rollout, I'll also say, if you have specific questions, you can always reach out to me. And then I say, please include in your subject line XYZ. And one of them is contributor connection. And then that means that they would say to me, I could really use this person's support on a one-on-one basis. And then that way I have that information. I can then take it back to the team. If it's necessary then to involve someone from HR, certainly they would be involved. And then we pass along the information.
And how do you protect privacy?
We have a privacy policy on our platform.
Yeah. So that one person who reaches out, HR doesn't now know who that is.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. To protect them.
Yeah.
Very good. And as individual employees, how have they been responding? What has been their feedback to you?
It's been really interesting because a number of them, I'm trying to figure out exactly how to put it. So depending on what courses they've taken, some people are not even finished the course before they start to provide feedback, which is fantastic. So we had one program in particular that was, and I'm getting excited, so now I'm jumping all over the place. I'm going to stick with one thought and then I'll get to the next one. So we'll have people that will say things like, I had no idea. So for healthy sleep, for example, like they'll say like, I had no idea that the temperature of my room or, keeping extra lights on the house, whatever the case may be, was a factor in me going to sleep. We've also had other people who were not necessarily our target audience who are responding to courses. So we had someone say they were interested in taking the, there's a program that we have, it's called Unlocking Your Inner Woman Warrior. And we had a number of men interested in the course because a lot of it talks about, we have an entire chapter that's dedicated to menopause, perimenopause, menstruation, perimenopause, and menopause. And some of them, one person in particular had said, I'm a single dad and my daughter is going through this and I don't know anything. So he said, this is so, so helpful. And it wasn't necessarily the target audience, but that's also part of Megan's genius of how she creates courses so that it is speaking to a large number of people and they will find something in it that's useful for them. So generally speaking, like the feedback has been very quick when people start to go through the courses. And that's been really exciting. And it's also been incredibly varied where we expected to hear from certain people, but we hear from a completely different audience than we anticipated.
No, that's great. That's great that it's very broad like that. And I can only imagine a single dad facing that and thinking, oh, yeah.
Well, that one kind of touched home for me because I was raised by my dad. So yeah, and maybe that's one reason why I insisted why we included that in the course was that I know firsthand people need support.
Yes, that's right. And all of these, and that's the thing as an employer, even employers that really do care, you have no idea what each individual employee is going through and when and what they need. And by having something as broad as what you offer, it really can make it easier on everybody. In terms of your self and psychological health and safety, can you describe for me what you think a psychologically healthy and safe workplace would look like for someone who really doesn't understand the concepts?
I would say communication, first and foremost, is key. So between team members, across different departments, being able to have that open kind of conversation, I think transparency goes a really long way. Certainly when it's appropriate, transparency goes a long way. But it also helps to cultivate meaningful relationships and trust. And I think communication and trust are huge in establishing that kind of a work environment. And really, when that happens, I find sometimes people need to remind themselves that, people will say it's not personal, it's business, right? Or it's not business. Oh my gosh, I can't think about this. But I think that's really important, is that perhaps there is an issue at work, perhaps there is some sort of disagreement, perhaps there is not going to be a meeting of the minds. It's not personal. And people need to be able to address these things, to be able to feel like they are safe, to be able to feel that they are seen. And I think that's a really, really important part of that kind of environment as well, is that people feel seen. They feel that they are a part of the team. They feel that they matter when they show up every day.
Mm-hmm. No matter who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said something interesting. You said transparency when it's appropriate. So can you talk more about when transparency may not be appropriate?
Yes. What I mean is, when let's say someone on your staff is struggling with a personal issue at home. Let's say it's divorce. So they go to somebody on their team and say, listen, you may have noticed that I've been a little bit, maybe I've been absent, maybe I haven't been as thorough as I usually am. I'm having this issue. So in that sense, transparency, being able to actually communicate that to somebody on your team is huge. When I say that within reason and when it's appropriate, when you're the manager, let's say, for example, that knows that, you don't go tell other people.
Right.
So having that transparency is key, and knowing when to keep it personal and when and how to share it is really important.
Yeah, that you keep confidentiality. You're not transparent about everybody else's business, but
Exactly.
About your own. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that was exactly, you had mentioned too, Marianne, about how one thing I always like to say to people is that you may, as a business, you may be doing everything right? You may be checking all the boxes, and you have programs in place, and you have supports in place, and things are great. But like you said, you have no idea what individuals are going through. If they have a child that's been up all night, right, that's going to absolutely affect what's going on their day-to-day basis. If they are a caregiver and they're burnt out and stressed out, that is going to have implications. And it's not personal. It has nothing to do with you, but it helps with the environment that you've created to be able to communicate that and to be able to provide that person with the support that they need.
Mm-hmm. We had a group that I worked with once, and they would do a check-in, and the check-in was, what's weighing on you today? What's on your mind today?
Ooh.
And it gave people an opportunity to share if they wanted to, but it gave an opportunity even more for everybody to see everybody else's sort of mood that day, what their energy level was like. And so it really helped everybody to see that there were individuals and that they all might be going through something.
I
So
love that.
it's so simple, right? But often we just get into work, we start to work, and that's it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah,
And
we
especially
wait.
if you're in an environment where you feel like there's a time crunch and there's not enough resources, there's not enough time,
Yeah.
to then have, it can feel burdensome, right? To open the floodgates and say, so what's bothering you?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then feeling like you have to take that on as well.
Yeah. Now you've got lots of different services that you've described. What are the services that you'd like to add to your roster?
That's a great question. We would love to build up support for families, so support for children. We would also love to build up another section around mental health. So substance abuse, I would love to have a program on substance abuse. I would love to have a support program. In fact, we've been talking with a couple of doulas. Actually, one that's for a birthing doula and another that's for grief. I would love to have programs that we offer on grief and trauma support. I would also love to have a dietitian. We have nutritionists and we have people who support nutrition, but we don't have a designated registered dietitian, so that would be great. There are a number of different programs. I would love also to offer something around support in the HR space, so time management. I would love to offer something around, there was something I just came up with the other day and I frantically was making notes about it, holding space. I would
Mhm.
love to have a course around how do you listen empathetically? How do you create an environment that is psychologically safe? How do you support your team, but not feel burdened by the weight of supporting the team?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Those are leadership skills that
mm,
are often hard won. And
yes.
it's unfortunate because if we could teach that, because really holding space means that you're not rushing to come up with the solutions, you're not trying to hold on to or resist the energy of somebody else. You're just
Mhm.
relaxing and being with someone. And it's took me a long time to learn
Yeah,
that skill. And
sure.
then once you learn it, you think, oh, life could have been so much easier.
And that's what we're here for. We want to make people's lives easier.
Yeah, yeah. It's this is just amazing, and I hope you get inundated with people with all the skill sets that you're looking for, saying,
Thank
"I
you.
want to
That's
be
great.
part of that."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, I love meeting with people about what it is that they do. I get
Mhm.
so excited when I hear from someone who's interested in creating a course and sort of looking at all the different things that we can do with it and how it will help people. If you have expertise in an area where every day, whatever it is that you teach is useful, I absolutely want to hear from you.
Yeah, yeah. That you can make that contribution, that people can access it just in time when they need it.
Mhm.
So Lauren, if somebody wanted to learn more about what you're doing, if they wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
They can go through our website. Like I said, it's going to be updated, but it's balancedwellnesscenter.ca. Or they can get in touch with me either through contact@balancedwellnesscenter.ca or Lauren, Lauren, at balancedwellnesscenter.ca. And it's
That's great.
center spelled Centre.
And do you have advice for employers who are thinking, look, we're so slammed right now. We've got so much on our plate. We don't have the extra budget. We just can't do that. What advice would you have them to start protecting the psychological health and safety of their employees today?
I mean, selfishly, I would say I know that we can help, so reach out to me.
Mhm.
Because we really do practice what we preach. If people don't have a particular budget, we'll find a way. We can find a way to support you. But I would say just talk, right? Talk with people on your team who may have some suggestions. There are probably people on your team already that have some kinds of resources. People who already meditate, people who are yoga instructors, people who have this kind of know-how that they're probably willing to share. So if that really is the issue about budget, start internally. And it's how great is it for an employee to feel recognized for something that they have already accomplished that they can share. And other than that, absolutely give us a shout. Let us know what we can do to support you. We can support budgets as low as $60 a month all the way up. So just let us know. And really for us too, what I would like people to know about us is that we try to make things as easy for you as possible. We have a policy where we don't give you homework. We will find the solutions. We will find out how to do it and we will make it work for you because people don't have the time. They don't have the resources. So whatever it is that we can take on to make that easier and help people be people and help organizations function, we will do that.
Yeah, that's great. And that's what the employers want to know. Like, we just
Mhm.
can't take on more right now. But
Yeah.
if you can make it that easy for them to make a difference, then that's always good. And I love your idea of tap into internally, because that's really seeing individuals and
Absolutely.
celebrating who they are outside of work. What other skill
Mhm.
sets do they have that they might not be using?
Yes.
Lauren, any last bits of advice or words of wisdom that you have?
Ooh, what would they be? Mostly, honestly, I'm just really grateful to have the opportunity for us to connect and to get the word out there, and specifically, certainly about the Balance Wellness Center, but just in general. It's so important to be able to have these conversations about how to support people, how to see people, and any opportunity that you can take to do that. Please do that.
Well, I think what you're doing, what you're striving towards is improving the quality of life for people. And I'm all about that. I just think we have a limited amount of time
Mhm.
in this lifetime, and that everybody should be looking to optimize their experience. and employers can help with that, but we also have to do it ourselves. And so people like you, Lauren, who are facilitating that journey, I thank you for it. I think that's really where we need to go.
Thank you.
So thanks for being part of this today. And I really invite people to subscribe. Flourish DX is the organization that has supported these podcasts. And I know because of the feedback that what we're doing is we're creating a broader connection of like-hearted people. As my friend Mo McKenna once said, we may not all be like-minded, but most of us are like-hearted, that we all want the same thing, which is to improve working lives and to make a difference in the world. So thanks, Lauren. Thanks, listeners. And until the next time, this is Psych Health and Safety in Canada.
You've been listening to the Psych Health and Safety Canada podcast. To stay up to date with the best content on workplace mental health in North America, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and join the Flourish DX community at www.flourishdx.com.